Let's get started. So thank you all and welcome. ASA's 90th anniversary gives us a unique chance to honor our past and to celebrate our future. It's fun to reminisce and to remember why our industry association has had such a powerful impact over the years. It's also really exciting to look ahead as we embrace the future. 90 years ago, the Fishing Tackle Manufacturers, the Association, and Fishing Tackle Manufacturers became the Associated Fishing Tackle Manufacturers. So that's a big mouthful. Why was it so significant, Glenn, for these groups to establish a single association?
Well, you got to keep in mind that this is the height of the Great Depression, and so having multiple voices and factions didn't really help satisfy or solve anything. So it was important to have that unified voice even back then and really focus on individual issues together as one organization to accomplish anything.
For sure. So starting with a brief recap of the initial role of the association, what were some efforts that had a positive impact on the industry?
So, you know, back in the 40s, it was the same thing with a lot of other organizations. They didn't have a lot of oversight, they didn't have a lot of regulation, and so it was important for the groups to kind of focus on new patents and making sure those things were taken care of and make sure that there's industry standards for things like rod parts and then ultimately though it was still about making sure that there was oversight and there was regulation and maybe make sure that you take care of things like delinquent jobbers or even problems with freight and making sure that freight services were accurate. So it's kind of the boring stuff that's still important for companies to run their businesses.
Well, I'm sure the unity and success of the industry was not just built on a need for regulatory structure. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. The regulatory is a major issue. So, but there's things that were a lot more fun, though.
I hope so.
If you think about fishing back in the 30s and 40s, there wasn't a lot of social media back then, and so there weren't a lot of things to help get things kicked off. So have you ever heard of the term skish?
No.
Skish. Anybody in the audience know the term skish? Mary Jane knows. So skish, believe it or not, it was a fishing game, and it's the combination of skeet and fishing, and it could be done on land or on water. It could be done inside or outside, but it was a game brought out to help teach kids to fish and get families involved in fishing. And it actually helped it become more of a household name to the point where it was actually subsidized into the 50s, and so skeet or skish continued on. And in that respect, it helped make fishing a year-round sport, believe it or not, and have fishing tackles sold year-round because people skished year-round.
They skished. Are people still skishing?
Not me. I don't know. Anybody else skishing?
Okay, good. I love it. But it probably wasn't all fun and games, right? There was, as you mentioned, regulations. What role did the association play regarding government affairs on issues like conservation or access to water?
So it played a huge role, of course. And if you go back in time, I'd say the two areas and two acts that were most important in the past were the Sportfish Restoration Act of 1950 and also the Dingell-Johnson Act. So back in the 40s, we cared about conservation, cared about fisheries and fisheries policy, but it took about 10 years to get folks together and be on the same page and pass the Sportfish Restoration Act. And that, of course, is the excise tax on fishing tackle, 3 to 10% on different tackle, $10 on rods, and a lot of different parts and products out there. And as obviously many people here in this room are paying that tax today. But for 70 years now, I've been paying that tax, and it's had a huge impact on fisheries and on access issues. And so even the amendment that was passed in 1984 was the Wallop-Roe Act, an amendment for that. And that added the fuel tax. And that fuel tax is worth about $400 million a year. Collectively, it's about $700 million a year right now that goes back into the states and back into conservation efforts. And it's had a huge impact on our fisheries, and it's really the envy of the world when it comes to having this type of support in our fisheries at the state level. It's really been special. So.
That's fantastic. You know, I have a video here that talks a little bit about how this all works. Can I go ahead and play this for the audience? All right.
So one thing I think is really important for people to know about the Sport Fish Restoration Act is that it's really self-funding. It goes right back into protecting and maintaining those resources and giving them access to the resources. By working together with the state agencies and our federal partners, that working together and paying these funds in has a benefit to them as a business and a benefit to the resource and those users. We're all trying to have sustainable fisheries resources in the state, and we're trying to do that in a responsible manner, and we do that by working together. And we're stronger by working together.
We've been handcrafting rods here since 1951. We need to understand where the dollars that we pay in regards to excise tax are going.
The state stocks out over 7 million fish a year. 40% of the funds that come to raise those 7 million fish come from sport fish restoration.
We understand that they write a big check every year for the United States government in the form of excise taxes that are collected for the products that they sell. And in turn, that provides wonderful recreational opportunities for the American public.
We know that that money is being reinvested in our industry. We know that all the dollars that we're spending there are coming back to us because as there's more opportunities for people to fish, there's more opportunities for people to buy more product, so the whole cycle repeats itself.
It's important for manufacturers, state and federal biologists to get together for these kind of events. All of our jobs relate to protecting water, enhancing water. The rod manufacturers such as St. Croix, they have to have clean water for people to go and fish in, for families to go out and boat and recreate in. The state and feds, we're responsible for that.
It's really this synergistic, circular relationship that is very, very important. Everybody has a stake in healthy fisheries and healthy natural resources. With the dollars that we are provided that are paid by excise taxes, we can implement programs for conservation and management of fisheries, which directly benefits our anglers. We're all working together for fishing, for conservation and protection and management of the resource.
The more people that we can get outside recreating, enjoying our fishery, the better it is for all of us.
Yeah, thanks to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for that video and partner with the PAIR program. Check out their website. It's some of the best stuff the U.S. government's put out there, and it's exciting to see the dollars being put to work to the point where they are actually managing 200 species of fish. They've got 321 state hatcheries that are producing more than 1 billion fish a year. They've got 319 new ramps for access in the last 6 years, and about 9,000 different locations are being operated and managed. That is really helping spend the money in the right ways to ensure that we have fishing and good waters and fish to catch. So it's really it's an amazing product. The other thing that I mentioned, going back when I said there were two, first one being sport fish restoration, is the Magnuson-Stevens Act. Now this is major saltwater fisheries management that was passed back in 1976. And this was, back then, we still had commercial vessels within 12 miles of our shoreline. And so this finally put vessels 200 miles off of our shoreline, which has a huge impact on fish and fishing. And we really had to battle overfishing that was taking place at that point, especially from international vessels. So that has a huge impact. It's still the most important saltwater fishery policy that we have. And it's something that's coming up for reauthorization. And Mike and his team are going to be active in trying to get that through the next Congress.
Yeah, it sounds like we've had a lot of regulatory victories in the last 90 years.
Yeah.
So before we move on, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that as the association evolved over the last 90 years, so did its brands. So Glenn, what are some of the culminating events and some of the brands that led to us to where we are today?
Okay. So as we talked about at ICAST this summer, this was our 65th trade show.
That's true.
And so it was called the Fishing Tackle Trade Show back then, but we'll come back to ICAST and let's move on to some other brands that were important to us.
Okay.
So even something like Fish America Foundation, this is something that was created by Zebco actually back in 1983. and was designed as a non-for-profit that was for grants to be given to fishery habitat and restoration. And so back in 1998, the ASA took over that product so that it's our nonprofit arm for continuing that. And to date, we've been able to give more than $12 million to over 1,000 projects to help out on habitat restoration. So that's a big one. And then you get into, let's just talk about ASA itself. As we talked about, you mentioned two names that used to be AFTMA, the American Fishing Tackle Manufacturers Association. We had a sister organization also that was called the Sport Fishing Institute that had been around since the 40s. And that was more in existence for research and data to help with conservation. Well, that sort of, I'll call it, dissolved into American Fishing Tackle Manufacturers and created ASA back in about 1994. And so really it became ASA to help, again, bring the community together, be more inclusive to the entire sport fishing industry. And then, of course, we have, I think, a very important brand, and that is, back in the 90s, we were concerned about fishing participation. And so Mike Nussman and others got together and said, let's move 2% of that Sport Fish Restoration Fund to promote fishing and boating. And so back in 1998, that took place as an amendment to the bill. And then Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation was created. And we take advantage of their website, takemefishing.org. And this tool now, coming up close to 25 years, has exposed fishing to millions and millions and millions of kids and families. And it's really important in terms of getting those families started, and it's had a huge impact.
For sure.
Another really important brand is Keep America Fishing. Now, back in 2008, there's several in this room know very well what happened then, and that is that we had some environmental groups that made a huge push on marine protected areas in California. And these folks won and we lost when it comes down to it. And it was something that was very bad for us. We learned a lot from that. And also we were able to develop this Keep America Fishing brand so that we could have an advocacy arm that could fight for the rights of anglers and could also make sure that we can help pass good bills while stopping bad bills from happening. And so as Keep America Fishing evolves, we've been able to develop more of a coalition. We've got great action alert capabilities. We're reaching out to about 1 million people right now with this product when we have different issues around the country. And it's really taking Mike Leonard and his team's message out to the people.
That's fantastic.
So then that led to one more brand here at ASA, and that's called Keep Florida Fishing. So back in 2015, it was thought that we didn't want to have happen in Florida what happened in California. And so we made a more of a concerted effort with focus of our staff and create a coalition in the state of Florida to make sure that we had clean waters, abundant fisheries, and access to those fish. And it's having a real impact based on relationships we have with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission and other partners in Florida that we work with to ensure that we can continue to fish and have good fishing in Florida.
Okay. All right, well, let's turn our attention for a minute to ICAST. Most of the membership would say that ICAST is probably one of the biggest values of ASA. And you already mentioned the trade show had humble beginnings in Chicago in 1958. Can you tell us a little bit about how things have evolved with regard to the trade show?
Sure. So back in 58, there was about 136 exhibitors and 2,500 people at the Hotel Sherman in Chicago. The names evolved over the years. So it was called the Wonderful Outdoor World and the Super Outdoor Market.
I love that one. That's my favorite.
And then the incredibly iconic name, the Fishing Tackle Show. But it wasn't until 25 years ago that, I don't know who gets credit for it, but someone came up with ICAST. So it's going to be the 25th anniversary of the name ICAST. And of course, everybody in this room knows what ICAST stands for. Ken, would you like to share?
The International Convention of Allied Sport Fishing Trades.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Now, if you don't know that at ICAST next year, we're going to have a video camera in your face, and you're going to make a fool of yourself. So it's going to be a beautiful thing. So ICAST has really been successful because it's your show. You own it as members. It's a member-owned show. It's not a show owned by a show development company. And that makes sure that we increase the value to you. The show continues to increase value. The return on investment is there for you. because it's your show. And so we're going to continue to invest in this show to ensure that we match sellers with buyers, with manufacturers with retailers, and make sure that the media is there to cover the products, to make sure that that brand is made not just in the, the folks on the floor, that gets to the rest of the folks around the country. And so we've had a lot of investment over the course of the years, and even just in the last half dozen years with Blake Swango and his team, in terms of things like, you look at the new product showcase, we have almost 1,000 products there, but they're also all digitized, there's videos associated with them, and it's shared to millions of folks. You combine that with now On the Water, and On the Water being in the pond that's in front of the North Hall of the show. And to be able to do that on Tuesday, to get right now about 50 brands out there and sharing product with the media and with the retailers before the show really enhances it. Makes Tuesday a fourth day, and makes ICAST really a 4-day show. But we've added more things like lunch and learn on the show floor so that people have a chance to take a little bit of time out of the show and learn a little bit about what's going on in their business, whether it's about marketing, whether it's about digital and different ways of communicating or other ways to help run a better business. And then there's other things we've added on just in terms of helping exhibitors with having a more productive show, taking care of the customers that they have and following up with them afterwards. So all these things add up to just a better overall show. And when you add the video and all the different social media, it is becoming more of a household name. Even with anglers, they know about ICAST. It's pretty exciting.
It is. Well, I have a little video here. I can show them an example of how exciting it really is.
ICAST is where fishing starts.
Largest fishing trade show in the world.
Every time we come here, we see all the latest and greatest things so that we can bring them back to the shop.
Whether you're salt, fresh, fly, whatever your interest is in the fishing industry, they have all of it here.
We're in person, we're able to put our hands on things, we're meeting people.
Everything that you need to grow your brand and to meet people and be in the fishing industry happens at ICAST.
It is awesome.
Yeah, so that was 2022. We're already excited about 2023. If you haven't booked your booth space yet, please do so. But registration won't open until February, I don't know, something like that. We're going to be adding more things to ICAST this next year, including a fly fishing area, and to grow the sport and be more inclusive to the entire sport fishing industry. So we're really excited about it.
Sounds like we have a lot of good things to look forward to in the coming year. Okay, well, we've just taken our trip down memory lane, looking at the past. So let's talk a minute about where we are today. And let's go back to government affairs for a second.
Okay.
So besides the SFA and MSA, American Sport Fishing Association's advocacy work really has had a huge impact on our industry over the past 90 years. Government affairs team gets stronger and more influential every day through its lobbying efforts in DC as well as on the state and regional level, and through our many advocacy tools. And there are a lot, lots of advocacy tools on YouTube, great videos, social media. We have a KAF Action Center. There's a new podcast. If you haven't tuned into Politics of Fish, you really should. And we have a new blog, The Sport Fishing Advocate. So Glenn, give me a brief overview of some of the more recent victories that have had the biggest impact on the industry.
So again, ASA's government affairs team is tremendous, led by Mike Leonard, and you and your team are doing a great job promoting that message through so many different avenues. And it's if there's fishery policy being discussed, and if there's bills being discussed that involve fishing, you can be sure that ASA has a hand in it and is leading the charge when it comes to trying to get that passed or blocked, if you will.
Yeah.
And so we have a great team doing a lot of great things. So some of the things more recently were like the Modern Fish Act. And the Modern Fish Act is something that about 4 years ago, it was really hard to get anything through Congress. But this was a bill that really helped establish us when it comes to recreational fishing in marine, and help people make sure that our administration is aware that recreational fishing matters. Mm-hmm. And we were going to hold them more in checks and balances to ensure that we are at the table when it comes to decisions being made on some of the marine fisheries. We also have several others. So, for example, the America's Conservation Enhancement Act, and this is called the ASA Act. And this is about habitat restoration with National Fish Partnership. Sorry, Mike, I just screwed that up. And so this is about funding more of the different habitat restoration areas that need help. But it's also things like keeping lead as it is right now, not having EPA be able to change the rules on lead for the next 5 years, which is critical for us to be able to continue to use lead. Then it's other things about just having better access and amenities, and these things help us to support areas like Chesapeake Bay. Another one would be Great American Outdoors Act. And so when you think about something like this, it's different types of funding. If you like to go to national parks, and you'll find that a lot of them have a lot of backlog on maintenance projects to be done.
Right.
And so the maintenance is going to improve the roads, improve parking, improve bathrooms, improve places to have food, putting in Wi-Fi. All this funding helps have a better experience when you're out on the public lands, which allows for more anglers, which allows for more fishing, and the sale of more fishing tackle. And then a fun one is the Descend Act, or what we like to call the Carl Act. And Carl Lederman and his son created their descending device, but it's something that our friend Garrett Graves will be here with us this week a little bit.
That's right.
From Louisiana, helped push through that. We are protecting more of the bottom fish here in the Gulf of Mexico, so that all recreational anglers and commercial fishermen need to use these descending devices to send these fish back to the deeper waters and avoid barotrauma. And so that is really critical to having more fish and then more fishing days, which is good for all of us.
Well, it sounds like our government affairs team has been keeping pretty busy on our advocacy efforts and doing a great job. Okay, so I have a crazy idea. What if, or a thought, I guess, I've been mulling over. What if ASA didn't exist?
A crazy idea?
I know. It's
only one?
Well, I have a lot of crazy ideas, Glenn will tell you. This is just one. Without us, our members have told us that we would lose our voice in Washington, we would become fragmented. Do you actually think that's true?
It's absolutely true. If we were Europe right now, our number one species we'd be fishing for is carp. Nothing's wrong with carp. But because of lack of regulation, because of lack of continuity in Europe, the fisheries are not as good, the water is not as clean, the access is not as available, there's not as many anglers. And so that has a huge role to play in that. Other things would be, we just talked about lead in fishing tackle. There's a lot of pressure to take lead out of our sports, both hunting and fishing, and we continually have to fight back on that. And if we wouldn't be doing that, we'd be switching over to steel, of course has some lead in it, titanium and tin, and so we need lead in fishing tackle. Also things like soft plastic baits. States like Maine tried to ban soft plastic baits, and we saw it more of a littering issue than it was an issue of abuse or damaging the waterways. So let's clean up the baits, the plastic baits not getting thrown in the water, and push back on that type of legislation. So those are types of things that we could be losing out on. And then just generally access around the country. There's so many different issues that we are battling all the time regarding access. Sometimes it's days of fishing, sometimes it's locations, and sometimes it's size and ranges of fish. And it's not all perfect. Yes, we want more days of red snapper fishing in the South Atlantic, but we've got more days in the Gulf of Mexico now, and we're also able to continue to fish in other waters. But if we weren't there, we would have much less access. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, so it sounds to me like these are all good reasons we should strengthen ASA, right? We should do more. The strategic plan that we began implementing this year, that was agreed to last year at the summit, there was a survey that was associated with the strategic plan that showed that the most important ASA member benefits really are our advocacy, our networking opportunities, and our trade show. These programs alone provide lots of opportunities for members to get engaged and get involved. So, Glenn, what is ASA doing to make it easier to be in the know and to stay involved?
Well, as you mentioned, there's a lot of information that we've been talking about and we're going to be working on. And so you have access to all these different tools at your fingertips is important. And so we've got to work on that. So besides these new benefits that we've added, it's really providing information in bite-sized pieces and being able to connect. So we connect here at the summit. It's a great place to network. We connect at ICAST. But the rest of the year, it's important for us to try to communicate with each other. And so even recording these sessions this week allows us to reach out to a broader community that's not with us today, and they can learn more about ASA's passed.
Just terrific. Well, do you want me to take a minute to talk a little bit about some of the things we're doing?
Why don't you tell us more about some of the things we're doing?
All right, we've got a lot going on, and I'm super excited. And if you were at the board meeting yesterday, you can tell I was very excited about the fact that we're launching a new website. And this is something that we've been working very hard on. But it also is going to be sort of an example of some of the new things we're going to be doing at ASA to provide better information. So the new website is designed to serve up the most critical content. Instead of being a library, which is what we have now, we're going to have more of a storefront kind of effect. And we'll be offering up the most recent valuable information in an easy, consumable way. So from things like taking action on timely advocacy issues to accessing news about the industry, everything is going to be right there at your fingertips, and I think it's going to be a really great improvement. We're also in the process of streamlining and focusing our content. Things like the market research reports, and I know you all know Rob Southwick, and he does a great job, him and his team do a great job of pulling together a lot of good information for our industry. We want to take that information and simplify it, make it easier to digest. We also want to segment our audiences so they receive the most targeted and relevant information to them. We want to do a better job, too, of providing things like robust website that has videos and social media channels that make information more absorbable and honestly just really want to improve the customer experience for ASA members.
That's good. So it is a lot of content and it's hard for everybody it's hard for each of us to take in all the content every day, and then we expect everyone else here to do the same. So maybe you can tell them how to maybe focus in. What should a member do to stay engaged with us?
Absolutely. So I've broken it down into 4 easy steps. Review, participate, commit, and take action. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to do that. It's really simple, honestly. Have you guys spent much time on ASA's YouTube channel? If you haven't, you really should. It's packed with content and information, amazing videos about new products, education. I don't know if you all attended ICAST's Lunch and Learn programs, but all of that content is available there. There are policy updates and membership value information, so please take a minute to look at the YouTube channel. Also, commit to reading our emails. I don't know how many emails you get. I know I get many, 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 many emails, thousands of emails every single day. But we send out 2 monthly newsletters that are really important. And if you don't have a ton of time, you really want to spend some time looking at Take 5 and Policy Watch. Both come out towards the end of the month. They cover everything from ICAST to Bills on the Hill. And there's a ton of good information important to you and your business that are in those newsletters. So we're going to continue to increase their value as we move forward. And if you're not receiving these emails, please let me know, or Glenn, or what about Rob Russell? Where's Rob Russell? Yeah, so you should definitely call Rob Russell if you're not on the email list. Participation in events is critical, and I know you all are here, so right, we're preaching to the choir. And I know you've heard it a million times that you get out what you put into an organization, but take some time out to attend things like ICAST and the Summit, or bring a friend or a colleague to these meetings. We'd love also for you to engage with our staff, both here, but also come visit us in Washington. Come share your ideas. And we also ask you to share campaigns like Fishing Share the Fun and help us tell the story of this great industry. And then just finally, take action. In addition to the email newsletters we send out a lot of action alerts. Our team is really busy sending out Keep America Fishing emails. And we really need you to take action on those, forward those to people that you know that care about these issues so that we can pass quality legislation and really stop bad legislation.
So we've thrown a lot at these folks here in this short period of time, and we want to talk a little bit about the future. And so as we shared last year at this very meeting, the board of directors came up with a strategic plan, and we had 7 directives. And so for this past year, we've really been focused on the first 2 in terms of building the sport fishing community and improving our content and communications. Maybe you can give them a little bit better idea of what we're doing now this next year.
Yeah, for sure. And as Glenn mentioned, we've been laser focused on building community, and our content and communications is something we've been working on a lot this year. But it doesn't mean that we're putting all of our focus in directives 1 and 2. Once we kind of get those going, which we're in the process of doing, the other 5 directives are going to come along right behind them, and they'll all go hand in hand. So I think we're going to make a ton of progress on all of those things. You know, one way we can do a better job of growing the sport fishing community is by working with our members. You know, we've got a great story to tell, but we need your help. We need your help telling the story. We mentioned earlier that together we are better, and that's true. So ASA of the future is going to be a place where our united community will be ambassadors of ASA and the industry, and we're going to be bringing more and more people to the table so that we can show the strength and the size of our industry. This is a little example of the community that we want to build. And for those out there that hopefully most people are going to raise their hand when I say, do you remember the ASA Fishing Share the Fun initiative that we did with RBFF in the spring? I hope so. I hope so. It was an awesome campaign that came together kind of quickly at the urging of our board. We created this R3 campaign to re-engage anglers. The campaign worked really, really well, and the reason it worked so well is because you all got involved and got engaged and really pushed out the information. We had the assets, but you took the time to reach out to your customers and your partners, and it was a big step towards where we want to be as sport fishing influencers. But based on that success, and I think we're going to take our Fishing Share the Fun to the next level this year, I feel like there's more we can do. There's more we can do better on.
So that was a good starting point, and what is nice to be able to take this kind of a program idea and put it across our other programs and campaigns. So again, working at the industry level, take this and use it for Keep America Fishing. So instead of us just pushing out our messages to consumers, if you will, and hoping that you're going to carry that message, we're going to create the tools and put the packages and assets together to share our Keep America Fishing messages with you, for you to share with your consumers and anglers. And it's going to be such a much larger reach. It's just important for us to reach more folks.
Yeah, we would love to see that happen. Something else, you know, we want to do is, in addition to meeting you where you are, you know, in your whole sort of membership journey, we want to actually physically meet you where you are. We want to spend more time in your region, and we want to participate in some member events. We want to do some more listening around the country. And I think that that's something that we really could evolve this year, don't you think, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. We want to take it closer to you in your region. So out on the West Coast with our new policy director, Larry Phillips, we want to get him meeting with you and getting many retailers and manufacturers and media together to communicate and talk about the issues that matter to you. Up in the Northeast, it's with Mike Wayne in the Mid-Atlantic. Get the manufacturers, retailers, and media together and other folks in the industry together to talk about issues that matter to you. In the Southeast, it's going to continue to be with Martha and Gary in Florida and in the Southeast, and get these groups together and have individual or group meetings for an afternoon and talk a little bit more about what's going on and what's impacting them. And then around the country, a large area, the freshwater side, Connor Bevan wants to meet with you and us, and we'll get the groups together in the hot spots, in the areas that matter right now regarding either AIS or other elements. So it's really exciting to think that we're going to be able to bring smaller groups together to areas that matter to them more than anywhere else.
Yeah, I think we're excited about a new initiative around that, so thank you. All right, so you know, we're using the 90th anniversary as a jumping off point. We're looking ahead at what's to come, and we're eager to build on our past successes and embrace the future. So as we head into the next 90 years, our charge is to elevate and grow this industry. As you saw, that was the #1 directive. And we want to also grow our influence. So what does that mean exactly? Well, #1, we need to grow our membership. We want to grow our membership numbers, but we also want to grow our sectors. So I'd like to show you just a brief video about what we've been up to with regard to membership.
Sport fishing is your way of life, whether angling on a wooded stream or miles offshore. It's your connection to friends and family, to inner peace and the great outdoors. But what does the future hold for your sport? And who safeguards its continuation and perpetuates its innovative growth? You do, but not alone. As a member of the American Sport Fishing Association, ASA, we've got your back. ASA, as the trusted voice of our industry, focuses on advocating for clean water access and abundant fisheries, supporting conservation, and eliminating barriers to trade and commerce.
Well, for me, when it comes to my business, really everyone I touch has something to do with fishing, and it's been a great community for me to work through, and ASA has a relationship with just about all of them.
But you must get involved.
If you want to have an effect on your business and on the industry, you have to be involved.
If you're looking to grow and improve your business, you need to get involved with the ASA.
Here are 5 ways to help us help you. Join the community working and standing together to advance and grow our sport and our businesses.
It's really a great group of folks that have the same intent and desire to keep things going and get more people in the sport and bring their families and grandkids and just carry it forward.
Tell your elected officials how much our industry impacts their district and our nation.
Imports, duties, taxes, and legislation about materials and business, ASA is there to represent us in legislative matters.
Whether you come as an exhibitor or an attendee, ICAST is the event where the most valuable business relationships are made, strengthened, and celebrated.
I've gotten to meet, other manufacturers and retailers that I would probably never ever got to talk to.
Our sport is on the rise. Now is the time to recruit, retain, and reactivate anglers to help our sport and our industry thrive.
And you get the opportunity to spend time with everybody in the industry, and you get a chance to give back to the sport that's given us so much.
A robust bipartisan political action committee gives us the opportunity to discuss our industry's interests directly with congressional members.
Having this resource available to you is really beneficial for your business, for you personally, and for the resource.
Sport fishing is your way of life. It's also ours when we stand together to advance and protect our mutual business interests. A united sport fishing industry has far greater influence than what could be accomplished individually. Together, let's build the sport fishing community and help it thrive.
Yeah, let's do that. And let's also build community, as we mentioned. We want to increase not just our membership, but our participation from our other allied partners. And I think we would like to try to do a better job too, reaching these people through social media, right? And engaging folks where they are.
It's going to be about the advocacy, when it comes to fisheries issues that impact, fish sustainability and access. We really need to have everybody on board with the advocacy side. If we build that package I talked about before, instead of just reaching the million people that we're reaching, through you alone in this room, we can reach 10 million. It's a game changer.
For sure. And we want to drill down too. We're starting an effort where we want to reach those sectors I mentioned. So this is our first attempt at kind of doing that through developing a retailer page on our new website. We'd like to do it for other sectors and other groups so that they can get targeted information that's really focused on what they do and what they do well.
Yeah, so let's embrace all this and work on it together. And I think that ultimately the success is going to depend on the engagement of the industry, and we are better together.
100%. So, don't just connect with ASA. Make sure you're out there too, taking a friend fishing. Get involved, get other people involved, and get them excited about the association, but also about sport fishing in general.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to this little story, and hopefully you're going to feel the need to get involved or want to be involved. It's for an industry that's really had an impact on the past. Together we're going to have a big impact on the future as well.
I agree. I think we're better together, and from what I've witnessed in the last year, it really is an amazing organization, and I think tomorrow we're going to be stronger than ever.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all so much.